Welcome back. This is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today we're going to be doing this extremely simple color block tumbler. As always, I'll make sure to put everything that I used today down in the description box below so that way you guys can shop those items if you would like to. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and let's wake up, prep these tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. Today I am starting out with a 30-ounce skinny tumbler that I purchased through the Stainless Depot company. This is just a double-walled stainless steel tumbler. I went ahead and I prepped my tumbler and I primed it this white color because I am using fluorescent paints today, so I figured I'd go ahead and just do the whole thing in this white color. Now I do let my tumbler sit overnight so that way when I use the tape, it doesn't peel that tape back. It has enough time, that paint has enough time to adhere properly to the tumbler and it won't peel the paint away. So I have my tape here, and this is what we're going to be using to make our block look. This is just a 1.5 inch tape, painter's tape that I'm using, and I'm just going to find the middle and I'm going to simply put that right around the middle to start forming that block look. Now if you would like to, if you want to make sure your lines are as straight as possible, you could go ahead and put a guideline for yourself with a pencil straight around the middle so that way that tape is as straight as possible. Now the paints that I'm going to be using today are jewel toned colors for the bottom, so it's going to be like an offset of like a dark jewel tone next to a lighter variation of that color. So I'll show you guys the colors here in a second. But if you guys just want to use your acrylic paints to paint up your bottoms, you can do that as well. But I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to start spray painting. So for the colors for the bottom, I'm going to be using the Seaside. It's like a lighter blue. I'm also going to be using a Lagoon, which is a darker version of that blue. And I will be using Paprika, which is a beautiful red color. I really love that color. And also poppy red and a little bit of fluorescent yellow, and that was all for the bottom. Now for the top, I'm going to be using this neon pink because I plan on using a fluorescent neon pink glitter for the top. So let's go ahead and get this shook up and get our tumbler painted. I talked a little bit earlier about why I painted my tumbler white first, and that's because when you go to use fluorescent paints, they're a bit translucent. So in order to have them really pop with their color, I highly suggest painting your tumbler white first and then moving on to your fluorescent paints. So the whole top of my tumbler is just going to be this fluorescent pink, and I'm only going to do one coat of this color for now. That's because when I go to do the jewel tones, if anything kind of splatters over on accident, I can just come right back through and do a second coat right over top. So for the bottom, we're going to be doing this faux opal look. And I'm going to go ahead and start with my fluorescent color first. This is the only fluorescent bright color I'm using on the bottom, so I wanted to make sure that I went ahead and laid that down first before I moved on to my other colors. Then I'm going to go ahead and come through and start layering on the darker colors first. And it doesn't matter where you put these. You see there's no rhyme or reason. I just do a couple spritzes on the front, a couple spritzes on the back, and that's pretty much all I'm going to do with these colors. Now, as you get going, and if drips start to form or anything like the cracks start to form, I don't want you guys to worry about that because honestly, once you lay the glitter over top, you're not really going to be able to see all that. So just very lightly come through, like I said, make up just random splotches of your color, just a couple on the front, couple on the back of each color. That's all you have to do. Now, I went ahead and I did the dark colors, and I'm going to go ahead and move on to the lighter blue and red as well. But I want you guys to always remember that there is no right or wrong when it comes to making art. Art is fun, art is expressive. Just enjoy what you're doing, and that's all that matters. Now, after I get my last little bit of my lighter red on here, I'm going to come back through and just kind of fill in any open spots with the rest of my fluorescent yellow. That's just going to really give it a little bit more coverage. And then after I spray on that yellow, I'm going to come through and I'm going to give the fluorescent pink a second coat on the bottom as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and just let this completely dry, and then we'll be able to take it inside and get it glittered up. All right, the moment of truth. Let's peel back our painter's tape here and see how we did. So I'm going to go ahead and peel that back. And one thing I did notice is I did have a little bit of a drip on my opal bottom. I'm not worried about that. Again, you're not going to be able to see it once it gets glittered. And also there was a little bit of a leakage around the tape area, but that's okay as well because we're going to come through it and paint it another color anyways. So now we're ready to move on. So for my adhesive today, I'm just going to be using my glue. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up, and the paintbrush that I'm using today is just like a #1 flat brush. I just thought it worked really well with getting around, all those block edges that we need to make sure they're nice and straight. So for the top, I'm just going to be using taffy, and that is from socglitters.com if you would like to purchase the glitters that I'm using today. But if not, just use what you already have on hand to make this tumbler. So I'm going to go ahead and load this up completely with my glue, making sure that I get it as smooth as possible so that way there's no ridges in my glitter once I apply the glitter. So now let's go ahead and load up that beautiful hot pink glitter right on the top here. And when I am working with glue, I like to try to glitter up the areas that dry the quickest, which are the areas that got, the least amount of glue, like around the bottom or around the rim, the top rim, and around where that stripe's going to be. So the glue was a little bit thinner there. So you hit up those areas first and then fill in your middle. And there we go. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to glittering up our bottom portion of our block look. Now, the reason why I use such darker colors is because once you apply your favorite opal glitter, it's really going to tone it down a bit, and it's going to give it just this really beautiful color to it. So that's why I really enjoy using these kind of jewel tone colors when it comes to doing this. So now I'm applying Agenda, and this is going to give us that just real frosted opally look once this glue has cured. Now I'm just going to tap off any extra glitter there. I'm going to set that off to the side and let that dry completely. And once it has dried completely, see, now you can really see those colors underneath there, very pretty. I'm going to take my chip brush and I'm just going to sweep away any extra glitter that's just not adhered down to the glue, and that's really going to help out with making sure that our middle stays as pure as possible without any glitter. If you don't want any glitter in your middle, I didn't really want glitter in the middle, so So I chose this really neutral color. I'm going to be using lamb's wool from Paprika, but also you could find almost the same color from Michael's. It's called Fog Gray. It was very similar to it. I'll make sure to put it in the description box for you guys. But I just love this kind of grayish beige color, and I just thought it went so well with what I had going on. And I'm going to use the same exact brush that I used for the glue just to make sure that I get a nice straight line around my center here. So I'm actually going to do 2 coats of this to make sure that it is nice and coated, and it's going to fill in all those little drips that might have occurred as well. So again, we don't have to worry about any of that. You can't even tell that drips or cracks happened. So there you go. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry completely, and then we'll move on to putting our first coat of epoxy over top of our raw glitter. And before I put my epoxy on, I went outside and I sprayed it down really good with my 2x Ultra semi-gloss here. This is just going to help that glitter stay put. I make sure that I use my hand, make sure there's no glitter coming off, because I want that middle to stay as pure as possible without any glitter, at least for now. Now, because I am using such a large tumbler, this is a 30-ounce tumbler, I mixed up 30 mLs of epoxy. Now, I did not need the full 30 mLs of epoxy for this because I'm using fine glitter, but, typically when I do chunky glitters, I pretty much do need to use all of it, but because it's fine glitter, I did not need the full 30 mLs. So you just want to make sure you get a nice coating on there. You don't want to overflow it, but you definitely want enough to be able to cover it really well, so that way you can pretty much move on to applying your decals and stuff afterwards. So I let that cure, and here it is the next morning, and now we're going to go ahead and start trimming up our rim here. So I'm just going to use my razor knife, trim up my rim really well. I'm going to use my sanding block, sand it down really well, make sure I sand down any little lumps and everything like that. Then I'm going to come through with just some rubbing alcohol, spritz it down really good, wipe it clean, and then we're ready to move on to that next step. Now, this is such a neutral base. You guys could do whatever you would like as far as the middle goes. I went ahead and I wanted to apply some just basic black stripes. I'm just going to use an acrylic marker for that, and I do have it on a turner to make it a little bit easier for myself. So in order to do my stripes, I'm just going to go ahead and turn on the turner, and then I'm going to take my hand and place my wrist on the table, and then I'm going to take my other hand and prop it inside the hand that's on the table, and that's just going to help me do my stripes here. I just wanted something very neutral, something very, plain. It didn't matter. I like the stripes, and I like the almost inconsistency of the stripes. The stripes don't have to be perfect, which I liked, that's just what I'm going to do. But again, this is so neutral. You could put little bats in there for Halloween. You could put little snowflakes in there for Christmas. You could make serape. Am I saying that right? Sure. Of course. Yeah. You could do up some serape lines in there, you know, whatever you guys would like. But wherever your imagination takes you with this, let it take you there. Now, after I get my stripes all filled in, I just wanted them not touching. That's pretty much all I did here. So I just went down the middle there until I got it all filled in. I'm going to stop it, and then I am going to adjust where my stripes met back together, you know, so it didn't look too sloppy. So I went ahead and I filled that in, kind of straightened it out a little bit. And I really, like I said, I really like how those inconsistencies looked. That's what I liked. So, so I'm gonna just finish filling that in, and then I'm gonna put on some pinstriping. Now the pinstriping I chose is like this beautiful orange opal color. I really liked how that looked with the colors I had going on here. So I'm just gonna, I did a 0.1 for the pinstriping. I'll put it down in the description box, and I'll also put where I got the opal vinyl as well down there for you guys. But color block tumblers are so easy. I know you guys got this. And all that's left to do is add on my last 2 finishing coats of epoxy, and she is good to go. Whether you take this design and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys had a lot of fun watching this tutorial today. Again, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.